Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. There comes a time in life when you have to stop explaining yourself, stop defending your truth, and just step back. You've been battling negativity, facing toxicity, dealing with people who drain your energy, and yet you're still standing. But now it's time to do something different. It's time to be silent. Not because you're weak, not because you don't have the words to fight back, but because your silence will be the loudest response. See, we live in a world where people will misunderstand you on purpose, twist your words, and try to pull you down just to feel taller. They will provoke you, they will test you, they will try to break you. And if you keep engaging, if you keep trying to prove yourself, you're feeding the very thing that's trying to destroy you. That's why you have to step back and let God take over. Listen to me. When you stay silent, you give God permission to work. You stop interfering with his plan. You stop trying to fight battles that aren't even yours to fight. Because here's the truth. Some people are setting traps for you, and they think they're getting away with it. But what they don't know is that they're digging a pit they're about to fall into. They think they're winning, but they have no idea that their time is running out. God sees everything. He sees the betrayal, he sees the lies, he sees the disrespect. And he's not blind to what's happening. He's not ignoring your pain. But he needs you to stop reacting, to stop trying to fix it yourself, to stop letting their energy infect yours. Because the moment you step back, that's the moment he steps in. And when God steps in, he doesn't just remove toxic people, he exposes them. He doesn't just end situations, he elevates you because of them. He doesn't just take you out of the storm, he turns that storm into a stepping stone. And the very people who thought they were harming you, they'll have to watch as you rise, as you thrive, as you become everything they tried to stop you from becoming. But that only happens if you stay silent, if you refuse to engage in their negativity, if you let your actions, your success, and your peace speak louder than any argument ever could. So from today forward, make a decision. Don't respond to drama. Don't react to negativity. Don't waste your energy proving yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Hold your peace, walk with faith, and watch as God handles what you couldn't. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It's the most powerful weapon you have when you're dealing with toxic people. In a world that constantly pushes us to react, to speak out, to defend ourselves, silence becomes an act of supreme strength. Think about it. When you choose silence, you're choosing not to be controlled by anyone else's negativity. You're not letting someone's toxic behavior dictate your mood or your actions. You're taking back control of your energy and putting it where it matters most, in yourself, in your peace, and in your future. People think silence means you're backing down, but that's far from the truth. It means you're smarter than the game they're trying to play. You realize that not every battle needs to be fought with words. Sometimes the best way to win is to not engage. When you stay silent, you're sending a message that their negativity doesn't have power over you. You're showing them that you're above the petty games and the toxic behavior they bring. Silence shows you know your worth. You don't need to argue, to explain, or to get validation from people who will never understand you. Your silence is a declaration that you know exactly who you are and you won't lower yourself to their level. It's not about being passive, it's about being strategic. It's about reserving your energy for the things that truly deserve it, for the relationships and situations that build you up, not tear you down. And in the end, silence speaks louder than any word ever could. It creates space for clarity, for wisdom, and for God to step in. When you're silent, you're showing that you trust the process, that you trust that God's got this. You're trusting that he'll handle what you can't. And that, my friends, is the most powerful thing you can do. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, instead of reacting, choose silence. You'll be amazed at how much power you hold when you decide to say nothing at all. Stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to prove your worth to anyone, especially those who don't have the capacity to understand you. So many of us waste time, energy, and emotions trying to make others see our truth, trying to make them get us. But here's the harsh reality. There are people who will never understand you. And that's okay. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You're not here to convince anyone of your worth. Your value is not determined by how others perceive you, but by the strength, the resilience, and the belief you have in yourself. The truth is, explaining yourself to toxic people only gives them more power. They're not listening to you, they're just waiting for their turn to speak, to twist your words, to use your vulnerability against you. The more you try to explain, the more they try to manipulate it. So stop. You don't need to explain why you make the choices you make, why you take the actions you take, or why you believe. When you explain, you're telling them that you care what they think, that their judgment somehow holds weight. And it doesn't. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the way you live your life. You don't owe anyone an apology for pursuing your dreams, for protecting your peace, for standing up for yourself. Your life is yours to live, not to justify to anyone else. And when you stop explaining yourself, something amazing happens. You begin to live authentically. You begin to trust yourself more, to believe in your decisions, to operate from a place of confidence. And when you do that, you stop attracting the wrong energy. You stop attracting people who want to break you down, and start attracting those who want to see you build, grow, and succeed. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who will never get it is the moment you free yourself, you free your mind, you free your spirit, and you free your future. Let your actions be the loudest thing about you. Let your results speak for you. The right people will understand you without the need for explanation. And those who don't, well, they're not worth your time or your words. So stop explaining yourself. You've got nothing to prove. You're already enough. Toxic people thrive on engagement. Let that sink in. They don't just want to stir up conflict for the sake of it. They want your reaction. They feed off your frustration, your anger, your emotional response. And if you keep engaging, if you keep trying to fix things, you're playing right into their hands. You're giving them exactly what they want, your time, your energy, your peace. But here's the truth. Every time you engage with them, you're giving away your power. You're letting them control how you feel. And that's not who you are. You are a force, and you need to recognize that. You need to realize that your peace is your greatest asset. Toxic people love to create drama because they thrive in chaos. They want to pull you into their world, a world of negativity, bitterness, and dysfunction. But here's the game changer. You don't have to enter their world. You don't have to play their game. You have a choice. And the choice is simple. Disengage. Refuse to get pulled into their mess. Refuse to let their negativity dictate your response. When you stop engaging, you stop fueling their fire. You take away the very thing they need to exist in your life, your emotional reaction. And once that reaction is gone, so is their power. It's hard at first. I get it. It's hard to bite your tongue when someone's pushing your buttons. But the moment you realize that engaging is only prolonging your suffering, you'll find that silence is the most powerful tool you have. When you stop reacting, you gain control. You become the calm in the storm, the unshakable force that stands tall no matter how much they try to knock you down. And when they see that they can no longer get under your skin, when they see that their attempts to provoke you are useless, they'll start to fade away. They'll find someone else to drain, someone else to manipulate, but you'll be free. Don't let toxic people dictate your energy, your mood, or your peace. They don't deserve it. And the more you refuse to engage, the less they'll have an impact on your life. You'll start to realize that your silence is more powerful than any word you could say. Your strength is in your ability to rise above, to stand firm in your truth without being dragged down by their toxicity. So remember, disengage, stop engaging with the people who are trying to bring you down, and watch as they lose their grip on your life. When you engage with toxic people, you're giving them something they want, your energy. Every response, every argument, every emotional reaction feeds the fire of negativity they're trying to create. They're looking for you to react, for you to lose your cool, for you to get pulled into their drama. They want to see you falter. They want to see you struggle because in their twisted way, it makes them feel validated. They feel better when they see you lose your peace because for a moment, it takes the spotlight off their own insecurities. But here's where you take your power back. When you choose not to engage, you take away their control. You stop participating in their game, and suddenly they're left with nothing. Nothing to provoke you with, nothing to disrupt your peace. Their words fall flat. Their attacks lose their sting. Their attempts to drag you into their chaos become meaningless. And the more you refuse to engage, the more they start to realize that they've lost their hold on you. It's easy to feel like you need to fight back, to stand your ground, to explain yourself, to defend your honor. But often That's exactly what toxic people want. They want you to feel like you need to prove something. They want you to get caught up in their mind games, to chase their validation. But what if you decided that your worth is not tied to anyone else's approval? What if you decided that you don't have to argue or justify your actions to anyone, especially someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart? Here's the truth. Engaging with toxic people is like trying to reason with a storm. You can scream at it, you can try to calm it, but it doesn't listen, it doesn't care. It will keep raging until it runs out of energy, leaving destruction in its wake. But you're not a storm. You are the calm in the middle of it. When you choose to stay silent, you are refusing to let the storm control you. You are standing firm, unshaken, unaffected by the chaos around you. What happens when you stop engaging with toxic people is that you start to reclaim your energy. You stop letting them control how you feel, and you begin to operate from a place of peace, from a place of self-respect. You become the master of your emotional state. And once you master your emotions, you master your life. The more you disengage, the stronger you become. Your silence isn't passive, it's active. It's a conscious decision to protect your peace. It's an act of self-preservation. And the more you practice this, the more you'll see that toxic people start to fade away. They'll either change or they'll move on because they can't survive in an environment where their tactics don't work. You'll start to attract healthier energy, people who respect your boundaries, who uplift you, who add value to your life instead of draining it. Silence is not just about stopping the noise around you. It's about creating space for your own growth, for your own peace, for God to step in and do what you can't. When you stop engaging with toxic people, you let go of the weight they've been putting on your shoulders. You let go of the burden of having to prove yourself. And in that space, you allow God to move in ways you never thought possible. He'll handle what you can't, and when the time is right, he'll remove the toxicity from your life completely. But first, you have to make the decision to stop engaging, to stop feeding the negativity, to stop letting them take your energy. The moment you do that, everything begins to shift. When you stay silent, you're making one of the most powerful decisions you can make in the face of adversity. You're not backing down. You're stepping back and letting God step in. This is where faith takes over. Too often we think we have to fix everything ourselves, that we have to control every situation, and that we have to be the ones to deal with every toxic person that crosses our path. But here's the thing. Some battles are not yours to fight. Some people are not your responsibility to change. And some things, no matter how hard you try, will never be resolved by your own efforts alone. When you stay silent, you're acknowledging that there is a higher power at work. You're choosing to trust that God has a plan for you, that he sees what's happening, that he knows the pain you're going through, and he's going to take care of it. When you stop engaging with the toxic people around you, you're opening the door for God to handle what you can't. You're trusting that his timing is perfect and his methods are far beyond anything you could ever do on your own. God doesn't need you to defend yourself. He doesn't need you to argue or fight back. He's already seen the hurt, the lies, the manipulation, and the toxic behavior you've had to endure. And when you let go, when you stop trying to fix everything with your own hands, he can step in and move mountains on your behalf. He can deal with what's been trying to harm you in ways you could never imagine. His power is limitless, and when you trust him to handle it, you're making room for miracles to happen. You're stepping out of the way so he can work in your life in ways you can't yet see. It's not about being passive, it's about being strategic. It's about acknowledging that there are things that are bigger than you, things that are beyond your control. And instead of fighting them head on, you trust that God will show up in ways that will leave you in awe. Your silence gives him the space to do what he does best, handle the things that are meant to break you and turn them into opportunities to elevate you. Here's the most beautiful part. When God steps in, he doesn't just remove toxic people from your life, he exposes them. He exposes their lies, their manipulation, their deceit. He shows them for who they really are, and he does it in a way that leaves no doubt in your mind that he's in control. He doesn't just fix the situation, he transforms it. He makes sure that you walk away stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the person you're meant to become. But in order for that to happen, you have to let go. You have to stop trying to fight battles that aren't yours to fight. You have to trust that God will deal with those who have wronged you in a way that will leave you standing tall, unharmed, and victorious. When you stay silent, you are handing over the reins to the one who knows exactly how to handle it. And in the end, you'll find that not only was it worth it, but you are stronger, more peaceful, and more aligned with your purpose because you trusted him to fight on your behalf. God sees everything. I want you to truly let that sink in. Everything. He sees the moments when people betray you, when they lie about you, when they try to tear you down. He sees the hurt you carry, the times you've been misunderstood, and the battles you've fought in silence. While you may feel like you're alone in those moments, you're not. God is watching. He's aware of every tear you've shed, every sacrifice you've made, and every toxic person that's come into your life, trying to pull you off course. You don't have to fight for justice because he already knows the truth. He doesn't need you to explain what's happening. He saw it all before it even happened. He knows the hearts of people better than we ever will. He knows their intentions, their motives, and he knows how much you've been hurt by them. And the most important thing to remember is that he's not blind to your pain. He's not indifferent to your struggles. When you stay silent, you are allowing him to handle what you couldn't. You are placing your faith in the one who sees every detail, every circumstance, and who knows exactly how to turn that situation around for your good. God doesn't miss a thing. He's not just sitting back watching the world go by. He's deeply involved, and he's preparing things behind the scenes that you can't see yet. So when you're facing toxic people who are trying to knock you off balance, when you're dealing with people who only want to bring negativity into your life, trust that God is already at work. He's moving in ways you can't even fathom, arranging circumstances and shifting things that you can't control. His ability to handle situations far exceeds anything you could ever do with your own hands. When you stay silent, you're showing trust in the fact that God will handle it in ways that are beyond your comprehension. You're releasing the need to take matters into your own hands and giving him the space to work. It's not about what you can do, it's about what he's already doing on your behalf. There's a spiritual law at play here. What's done in the dark will always come to light. And when God is ready, the truth will be revealed. The toxic people in your life who thought they could get away with hurting you, manipulating you, or lying about you, they will face the consequences and you won't have to lift a finger. God will deal with them. He will expose them for who they truly are, and he will handle it with a precision and wisdom that is unmatched. When you trust in his timing, when you trust that he is the ultimate judge, you can rest easy. You no longer need to hold on to bitterness or anger because you know that he's got your back. Your responsibility is to stay silent, to trust, and to focus on becoming the best version of yourself. God sees what you can't. He knows what you don't, and he will step in at exactly the right moment. So stop worrying, stop stressing, stop trying to fix the broken pieces on your own. Trust that God sees everything and that he's already working on your behalf, even when it feels like nothing is happening. When you let go and let God, the situations that once seemed hopeless will turn around in ways you couldn't have predicted. The people who tried to bring you down will be dealt with in a way that brings you peace and elevation. And you will be standing tall, stronger than ever, knowing that God saw it all and handled it all. Toxicity will eventually backfire. Let that truth really hit you. There is an undeniable law of the universe. What goes around comes around. And when toxic people choose to act with manipulation, deception, or harm, they are building their own downfall, whether they realize it or not. The energy they put out into the world is the same energy that will circle back to them. What they've sown, they will reap. And while it may seem like they're winning in the moment, while it may look like they're getting away with their lies or their cruelty, trust me, there's no escaping the inevitable. Every negative action, every toxic word, every attempt to tear someone down is like planting a seed that will eventually sprout and bring about its own consequences. You don't have to be the one to expose them. You don't have to be the one to call them out. Because when you stay silent, when you refuse to engage with their toxicity, you're allowing the natural laws of the universe to work. You're giving space for their actions to catch up with them. Every person who tries to drag you down, every toxic person who thinks they can break you, will eventually face the consequences of their own choices. They won't be able to escape the effects of their negativity. The same energy they've put into hurting you is the same energy that will return to them in ways they can't control. It's easy to get discouraged when it feels like the toxic people in your life are getting away with their behavior. It's easy to feel like nothing is changing, like justice is never coming. But trust me, you don't have to wait for the world to balance things out on its own. God has a way of dealing with things far beyond what you can do. He sees every action, every move made in the dark, and he knows exactly when and how to step in. The truth is, toxic people are living in a bubble of their own making, one that's based on lies, manipulation, and selfishness. And bubbles eventually burst. They always do. The foundation they've built their toxicity on is shaky, and at some point it will crumble under the weight of its own falsehoods. You might wonder when it will happen. You might wonder when that bubble will burst. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need to know the timeline. You don't need to keep your eyes on their every move, waiting for their downfall. You need to keep your eyes focused on yourself, on your own growth, on your own elevation. The moment you stop obsessing over their actions and let go of the need for them to pay for their wrongs, the faster you'll see things start to unfold. Trust that what goes around comes around, and God is in control of when the shift happens. And here's what's even more powerful. Not only will their toxicity backfire, but it will be the catalyst for your own growth. While they're busy dealing with the consequences of their actions, you'll be moving forward. You'll be moving into greater peace, greater success, and a higher level of understanding. They'll be stuck in their own negativity while you're soaring above it. Their attempts to destroy you will have only made you stronger. Their negativity will have only propelled you toward your higher purpose. You don't have to fight for justice. You don't have to seek revenge. The universe has a way of making sure that the toxic people who try to break you will ultimately break themselves. And when they do, you'll be standing tall, untouched by their attempts, knowing that God had a hand in all of it. Your silence, your strength, and your trust in the process are the keys to your victory. Just keep moving forward. Because when toxicity backfires, the only thing left standing will be you, stronger and more resilient than ever. Sometimes the most powerful action you can take is to let the toxicity expose itself. When you stop engaging, when you choose to remain silent, you give space for the truth to emerge. You stop defending yourself, and in doing so, you allow toxic people to reveal their true colors. It's one of the most profound shifts you can make. Instead of trying to prove yourself, instead of trying to explain, you stand firm in your own truth and let their actions speak for them. The very things they've been hiding, whether it's their manipulation, their deceit, or their selfishness, will eventually come to light on their own. And when that happens, you'll realize that their lies and toxic behavior were never worth your time, never worth your energy. When you stop trying to force a narrative, when you stop trying to correct every false assumption about you, you create space for others to see things clearly. You create space for God to work and reveal the truth. Here's the thing about toxic people. They're masters at hiding behind false facades, creating stories that make them seem innocent or justified. They'll use your reaction, your engagement, your words as tools to manipulate the situation in their favor. They want to keep the narrative twisted in their own favor, but when you stop engaging with them, the truth becomes undeniable. They can no longer control the story. Their actions will begin to speak louder than anything they could ever say. This is where God steps in. He will make sure the truth is exposed in ways you couldn't even imagine. He'll make sure that people see through the lies, the manipulation, and the toxic behavior for exactly what it is. You don't need to fight to prove your innocence. You don't need to defend yourself. Because when you stop trying to do it all on your own, God will step in and allow the lies to unravel in the right way. And in the end, it will not only clear your name, but it will elevate you to a higher level of respect, understanding, and authenticity. The most liberating thing you can do in these situations is to trust that the truth will always find a way to reveal itself. When you engage with toxic people, you're giving them the chance to twist things, to distort the narrative. But when you remain silent, when you take a step back and focus on your own life, you allow their actions to speak for themselves. And believe me, the truth always has a way of rising to the surface. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The moment you let go of the need to explain, the moment you stop defending yourself, is the moment you let the universe or God handle the situation with perfect precision. People will see the truth. The toxic people who thought they could manipulate you, deceive you, or bring you down will eventually reveal their true nature. And it won't be pretty. It may take time, but trust that the right people will start to see through the facade. They'll begin to recognize who you really are, and they'll begin to understand that you were never the problem. When you let toxicity expose itself, you're allowing God to show the world who's really in control. You're giving space for the lies to collapse on their own and for the truth to stand tall. And as that truth unfolds, you'll realize that silence wasn't weakness, it was your strength. It was your decision to rise above, to trust the process, and to let the power of truth do the work for you. You don't need to fight for validation. The truth will always validate you, and it will always expose the toxic ones for who they truly are. When you remain silent, you are not surrendering or showing weakness. You are taking a stand, one that requires incredible strength. It's easy to think that silence is passive, that doing nothing in the face of toxicity somehow means you're letting people walk all over you. But the truth is, silence is an active choice. It's a conscious decision to protect your peace, to preserve your energy, and to stop allowing toxic people to control your life. It takes courage to stand in silence while the world around you is shouting. It takes immense inner strength to hold your ground when others are trying to provoke a reaction from you. But in that silence, you are demonstrating the ultimate form of power. Here's the key. Toxic people are looking for your reaction. They thrive on your anger, your frustration, your emotional energy. They want to see you get rattled. They want to see you lose control. And when you give them that reaction, when you feed into their negativity, they win. But when you choose to stay silent, you take away their power. You stop feeding the fire that they've been trying to light. You break their ability to manipulate your emotions, and you create an unshakable peace within yourself. That's where your strength lies. Silence doesn't mean inaction. It means choosing to act differently. Instead of engaging with toxicity, you make the decision to rise above it. You choose to stop the cycle of drama, manipulation, and negativity before it even starts. In silence, you are building resilience. You are strengthening your ability to navigate challenges without getting caught up in the chaos that others try to bring into your life. You are asserting control over your emotions, and you are choosing to protect your energy from being drained by people who don't deserve it. You see, when you stop reacting to toxic people, when you stop getting dragged into their drama, you stop allowing them to set the terms of your emotional state, and when you stop letting them control how you feel, you're taking back your power. You're becoming the person who is unshaken, who is steady no matter what comes their way, the person who chooses peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and wisdom over conflict. And in that space, you start to realize just how strong you are. The strength of silence lies in the fact that you no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You no longer need to justify your actions, your decisions, or your worth to anyone who doesn't respect you. You don't need validation from people who only seek to tear you down. When you remain silent, you are validating yourself. You are standing firm in your own truth, knowing that you don't need anyone else's approval to know who you are. You are grounded in your own power, and that power is invincible. And here's what happens when you stay silent. Not only do you regain control over your emotions, but you also allow God to step in and take care of the rest. When you stop engaging with toxic people, you're opening the door for God to step in and deal with what you cannot. You're making space for his divine intervention, for him to handle the people who have been trying to manipulate, control, or hurt you. And when he steps in, you'll see that his ways are far beyond anything you could have imagined. He'll remove the toxicity from your life, and he'll do it in ways that leave you standing stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your purpose. Silence is strength. It is the strength to walk away from drama, to disengage from negativity, to protect your peace and your energy. It is the strength to rise above the noise and stand firm in your own power. And when you do that, when you choose silence over engagement, you'll find that the toxic people who once controlled your life will no longer have a hold on you. You'll be free. You'll be unshakable, and you'll be living in a peace that no one can take away. When you choose to stay silent, you are stepping into a place of personal growth and transformation. It's easy to fall into the trap of responding to every toxic comment, every false accusation, and every attempt to pull you down. But here's the truth. Reacting to every little thing keeps you stuck. It keeps you in a constant cycle of conflict, of negativity, and of emotional drain. When you stop reacting and choose silence, you make room for your own personal growth to flourish. You're giving yourself the space to evolve, to become more emotionally intelligent, and to learn how to navigate life with a level of grace and wisdom that you didn't know was possible. Your silence isn't about weakness, it's about maturity. It's about realizing that your energy is far too valuable to be spent on people who don't deserve it. You're learning that growth happens in the moments of stillness, not in the chaos. When you stop fighting every battle that's thrown your way, you create an opportunity for yourself to step into a higher level of understanding. You stop getting caught in petty drama and start focusing on your personal evolution. The toxic people who once had the power to affect your mood and your peace no longer have that control because you've chosen to focus on something greater, your own growth. In the silence, you start to see things more clearly. The fog of anger, frustration, and confusion begins to lift, and you gain a deeper understanding of yourself and your surroundings. You become more in tune with your inner self, your values, and your purpose. You start to see the bigger picture and realize that the toxic people in your life are just small pieces of a much larger journey. Your growth happens when you can rise above those people, when you can detach from their negativity and move forward with clarity and purpose. And the beauty of this growth is that it doesn't just impact you, it impacts everyone around you. The more you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, the more your energy shifts. People notice. They see your strength, your ability to remain calm in chaos, and your refusal to be dragged into unnecessary conflict. You become a magnet for the right energy, the right people, and the right opportunities. People start to gravitate toward you because they can see that you are someone who has mastered their emotions, who is focused on higher things, and who is not willing to engage with the toxic forces around them. As you grow, you become less dependent on external validation. You stop needing approval from people who don't matter. You stop trying to prove your worth to those who never truly saw it in the first place. You begin to see yourself through the lens of your own strength and self-respect. You understand that your value isn't tied to the opinions of toxic people. It's tied to who you are as a person, your purpose, and the impact you're here to make. God is working in the silence. As you grow, he is transforming you, preparing you for the next level. When you stop engaging with the toxic people who once controlled your energy, you allow yourself to be shaped by a higher power, one that sees your potential and is ready to elevate you to places you couldn't reach while you were caught in the drama. This is where your true growth happens, in the stillness, in the silence, and in the moments where you choose not to react, but to reflect, to rise, and to move forward with clarity. Your personal growth is inevitable when you choose silence. It's in those moments of quiet that your inner strength is forged, your wisdom is deepened, and your peace is protected. You become someone who is unshakable, someone who no longer allows toxic energy to steal their joy. And as you grow, you'll look back and realize that the silence wasn't just about avoiding the noise, it was about stepping into the greatest version of yourself.